Good morning, everyone. It's early morning on the West Coast. I am so excited because you have two middle-aged men here who probably wake up early anyway. But Tony got onto the show and said, I've never missed the broadcast. Don't worry. I said, that was the least of my worries with you being here. Thank you, Tony Potts. If you don't know Tony, you haven't been around at least NBC, because he is an Emmy Award-winning, an Emmy Award-winning career in content, of course, with Access Hollywood and many other things that he has done, hosting thousands and thousands, over 4,000 shows, I think, and so many pieces of content. But when we talk about so many pieces of content, I want people to realize that we're talking about entire episodes of content, not today's micro content. I could put out 1 million pieces of content in a day, at 8 seconds a piece. So anyway, you have a company that you've co-founded, The Content Artists. And I can't think of a better person to start this company because, number one, you've seen the evolution of content. You know the importance of content. You understand the audience and how it's become more of a spectrum type of audience that you can speak to. Instead of what we called a broadcast, we can have what I call a microcast, which could be more powerful in some respects. But I want to start with consistency because your career has been a phenomenal career. And now your consistency has allowed you to impact millions of people in a different way other than entertaining people, which I found Access Hollywood one of the most entertaining TV shows I've ever seen. But today you impact people with values. How has that consistency related or reconciled with these values that are essential to what you do?
It's interesting you say that. And by the way, thanks for having me. It's great to see you. I was having a conversation. I was at a private screening with the Directors Guild here in Hollywood with Benedict Cumberbatch, his new movie. It's a Jane Campion film. And I was talking to somebody I knew there right after the Q&A. And we're talking about, she's been in the business about 30 some years, and she's one of the major publicists in Hollywood. And one of the things that I always had in my back pocket was just the values of my parents growing up. Never sandbag somebody on the air, right? Never take advantage of them and what have you. So when I got into Hollywood, which I called at the time, I came up through sports and news and investigative news, and I anchored in New York and all this stuff. And then when I got the call, maybe like they wanted me to come to Access Hollywood, because I have a degree in journalism, editorial writing, and all that stuff. I thought, man, am I going to go to the dark side of journalism? It's entertainment. Like, what is that? But it was great. My dad, my dad's very pragmatic and has a dry sense of humor. And he was like, son, you're going to go around the world. They're going to fly you first class. They're going to put you, you're going to driver in every city you go to. So, because your talent, they think you're going to get lost. You don't know where you're going. You're going to meet amazing people doing amazing things in amazing places. Why wouldn't you? And they're going to pay you for this? Are you nuts? Yes. Go to the dark side. And as I went through the dark side and doing all these interviews over time, I never had notes because I studied. So it was never like an interview. It was a chat like this. And over time, consistency, managers and agents and A-list stars realized, oh, that dude gives a crap. He did his homework, because I would know stuff about them that nobody else really would or would give a crap to. So over time, much to your point, they're like, okay, this dude's great. This guy, we can count on him. And if there were tough questions I had to ask, I would say before, we had all these cameras and what have you, I would say to them and their PR person or whomever was in the room, look, I got to ask you this question. Like, look, you're here because we can broadcast to 6 million people to sell your movie. So we're helping you out. But there is stuff in the news I've got to ask you. I will ask you twice, come up with whatever answer you want to, or if you want to talk about it, let me know. Let's do it. So over time that worked. And then as I moved on into other things and starting a small venture capital fund to bridge Hollywood technology, sports, and esports, I could reach out to those people, David, and go, hey, I know some of your clients want to invest, or I would know them personally. So it's, I always used to say to people, it's what I do. It's not really what I am, in a sense. I cared and I loved it and what have you. But over time, I knew that I'm in it for the long haul, right? I got kids. I'm not gonna be a jerk and embarrass you. So yeah. And back to your point, I've never missed a broadcast. All of them were live, and I used to drive the directors and executive producers crazy because I hate waiting. I don't like being on the set for 10 minutes, as you just saw. I don't like it. I just don't like it. I know my stuff. I want to get on, and I want that energy. Like when I used to host Good Day New York, for Fox, I would show up. We had a tease at 6:58:30, and I'd get there like at 6:58. 6:58:10, with 20 seconds to spare. And after a while, it was a running joke. They would sometimes they'd cut early to show my empty chair and stuff like that. But yeah, consistency wins the day.
And I love beyond the consistency, the utilization of time. I'm the exact same way, one after another. In fact, I have 4 of these interviews and then a training, and then I'm filming a TV show, and I'll have 3 episodes and 3 podcasts along with those. And once again, I'll walk up 30 seconds to a minute beforehand and make sure everyone else is prepared, which is part of the consistency that you're managing those expectations. Yep. But you also have learned a lot, which is as you've been in the sports, in the esports, and my whole career in entertainment and sports as an agent. The most interesting thing is I went over, as you would call the dark side, to Dave. You're spending, I do 12 interviews a day, either me being interviewed or interviewing other people.
Wow.
And I'm blessed. I'm interviewing people like you and Blaine Bartlett, who just joined my partner here, and my mentor, by the way, from Seattle.
Hey, how you doing?
From Seattle? Hold on. Where in Seattle?
Mercer Island.
Mercer
Island. Whidbey Island.
Aren't you in Whidbey Island?
Yeah. You want to be in Mercer Island, but you're on Whidbey. But I know Whidbey. I grew up in.
I want to be on Whidbey.
I know. I grew up in Puyallup.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Do the Puyallup Fair. So, yep.
There you go. I love it.
Sorry. Go ahead, David.
No, that's
Washingtonians, the Evergreen State people, we get a little nuts when we meet one another.
Well,
he's not too waterlogged, so that's good.
Being business partners with Warren Moon, I have plenty of people stop my conversation to tell me something about Seattle or Washington in general, of course.
Love Warren Moon, one of the best arms ever.
Yeah, most accurate arm for sure.
Yeah.
But what's so interesting is I never imagined how much I would learn. I'm a huge Napoleon Hill fan. I read it every day. I still read Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. But, I'm a modern day virtual Napoleon Hill. I get, the billionaires, millionaires, entrepreneurs, celebrities, athletes, entertainers, and I get 15 to 20 minutes with 12 of them every day. And I get to ask what I want to know, which hopefully some people are interested in the same things. You must have come and grown much more than you ever could imagine from all the interviews that you've done and all the people that you've experienced. What were some of the common denominators of that spirit of excellence from all the thousands of people that you've been with?
A couple of things, because it's a great question, David. In traveling the world and meeting some of these people, on location or wherever it may be, at the end of the day, we're just humans and we want to be acknowledged and we want to be loved. That's really all it is. Mm-hmm. All the infighting and the this and the that and the whatever. At the end of the day, you just want to be acknowledged. Not you don't have to be praised. Just acknowledged. Hey, how are you? How are you doing? And then we all just want to be loved. 98% of us, there's always that 2%. My dad used to tell me in the backyard in Puyallup, I go, watch out for those people, son. but also, here's the thing. My wife is currently in Dubai, and she's building her 3rd beauty brand and with a big impact to get 100,000 girls out of the slums in 10 years. And, there are some setbacks along the way. It's hard. It's hard to raise money. It's hard to build a brand. She's an incredible entrepreneur. This is her 3rd brand. She's won the Mahatma Gandhi Award from the British and Indian governments for her work. But she sees setbacks. And I said, in every moment, back to my dad's 2%, even you can learn from those people. Everything's a teaching moment. Because what comes at you is negative energy if it's in that state, right? So you either go like this, which takes a boatload of energy to push it back, or you look at it and then you take it and then you massage it the way and take that and use it. And energy has no allegiance.
Yeah.
Energy has no allegiance. So you just take it and then you spin it into yours. And by the way, part of that turn is the learn. Right? I just came up with a phrase. Part of the turn is learn. And I'll trademark that. You guys are very smart. Don't take it. But that's what I found, and I take that back to my parents who were rock and roll rebels from the 50s, got married when they were 18 years old, and were present of mind enough to ask each other, what's the one thing you need in marriage? They said, and they gave each other, it's too long to say here, but I never saw them mistreat each other in front of us. So I grew up, because they didn't have that when they were growing up. And I saw that on a daily, sure, there were disagreements and you could tell there were tension, but they always respected each other. So first off, I saw 2 humans respecting each other. And when boundaries were hit, they would do whatever they needed to do, but it was always done in a way that was thoughtful and sometimes a little, upset, but also a man treating a woman and vice versa. So I grew up in that world. So as I went out into the world, that's what I was, and that's what I am. And so they said, look, go, we didn't have the opportunity. So go run, like go, just the word was just go. And if you fall down, on your butt, get back up and just go. We'll be here. Now, if you fall down 3 times for the same reason, then there's going to be a little issue. You better go out, move and find a job. But so I had that kind of base of support in a sense, like just go. And if and learn. And that's back to your point, David. I have, just everybody's human and we just want to be loved and acknowledged. And if you just take a beat and look at somebody, it makes a difference.
Tony, I love everything that you're saying around this. In particular, and I am going to steal. Energy has no allegiance. I love that. But one of the 4 things that you talk about is collaboration, and in the work that I do,
I was like, "Where's Blaine? He needs to talk about collaboration."
Yeah. In the leadership work that I do, the way that I've ended up defining leadership is it's the process of co-creating coordinated movement. I mean, that's essentially what it is at the end of the day, co-creating coordinated movement, because leaders cause movement. That's what they do. So I'm struck by what you're talking about with your wife, the idea of building brand, but more so, I'm also very intrigued with the idea of just your interviewing history, because it has to have been, and I speak about this from a leadership perspective. You've had some tough interviews. And so the idea of co-creating coordinated movement, when my wife and I get into this sort of a thing every now and then, we've got a little phrase, that's interesting. Tell me more, rather than, well, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard. Yeah. So how does the idea of tell me more actually feed into the notion of collaboration in the long term, both from a professional perspective, but also from a leadership perspective, from your point of view?
It's important because when about 3 years into my run at Access Hollywood and interviewing, everybody that everybody knows, I started getting emails and what have you from agents or phone calls and, hey, can you maybe coach my A-list talent? Got to sign an NDA. Can you coach this executive? Because, at Access and, it was fun, but we're the beast, right? We have to be fed every day. We need, right? And so I know what the beast needs. I know the little breadcrumbs I need to put out to get somebody into a corner if I wanted to. Yeah. And so that collaboration started to come together. And then, much to your point, tell me more, I started looking at them from a different place than I ever would have. And so I would come into it. It changed me a little different. It even works in business when I'd say, how are you? What do you, I was at another thing last night and how are you? What do you do? How can I help? Instead of telling them what I want to do for them, just let them, and here's my biggest issue. Maybe this will help people. I'm kind of a lone wolf. And, I'm this guy from Puyallup who wanted to be in New York by the time I was 30 on a show, like, right. Who's going to really help me? And my wife is the massive and I'll collaborate for everybody, but I'll never ask for help. I just don't ask for help. And she's like, it's one of these things, right? And if she should have said to me, tell me more. But I have, like, in the last 3 or 4 years, because I built a media company in Europe. I built another one in Budapest. And so I had to ask for help. And it's amazing how many people out there wanted to help me. Like, I was always helping everybody else, but people really do want to help you. And it's hard to ask. For me, it's really hard for me to ask for help. And so that co-collaboration and co-movement and co-energy, my wife has exemplified that. She built a $21 million brand in a year out of her garage. This one, and wrote a best-selling book. I mean, it was like, and she had to ask for help. She didn't know. So that's kind of how, and I now see it through a different lens because of that. Blaine, it's just amazing.
What's amazing,
thank you
Tony,
for that.
Yeah, Tony, what's amazing too is you hit on 2 things that really resonate with me. One, people ask me the value of going to law school, especially as being a notable sports agent. Should I go? Shouldn't I go? And I said, the greatest value beyond understanding not getting ripped off for my legal bills from going to law school and knowing what lawyers bill like, but more importantly, the simple idea of open-ended questions. When you learn voir dire, the idea of an open-ended question and the leading question. And I think that skill set, beyond the interviews that we do and how we're doing this today, has allowed me to ask for help. Because what happens when you are more interested than interesting is you learn about that person. As you said, you take that energy in and you create an allegiance with it. Now you can direct it with close-ended questions so that you can find out two simple things. One, everybody wants to know, how can I be of service or value? But that second thing that all three of us on the screen here probably have had extreme difficulty because we've had success, which is, how can you help me? Or do you know, would it be, do you know someone that can help me is the simplest way I train people today. If you can remember even a softer way of asking for help. Hey, do you know anyone that can help me? You now can, through open-ended questions, understand, is this an open mind, an open heart, and open hands, which, like you said, is 98% of the people on earth. But even more importantly, it identifies immediately the 2% when they're a-holes to you with a closed mind and basically you snub you. You're not wasting your time beating your head against a wall. To finish up, the content artist, you've been able to transcend your career. And I find it spectacular because I have many other shows. Blaine and I, we want you on to talk about what is going on with your content solution. There's so many distribution platforms. You seem to have a great handle and a great perspective on how best to distribute content and get the most value from it, and maybe the most exposure and branding as well.
No, absolutely. We were building brands for other people, and they were selling them for a lot of money. And we're like, wait a second, maybe we should do our own. And I'm always been peeking around the corner of what's next, right? And so we build a company. We basically create, incubate, and accelerate ideas and content. And then we have a distribution platform. I believe 83% of all screens that people see pre-pandemic were out of the home, digital out of home, DOOH. So I believe, where are they? So we now have 96% of all screens in the back of Ubers and Lyfts. And soon we'll have 2,608 screens in all the airports because people are traveling, walking around. And we feel that's a great distribution touch point in really innovative ways. I know we don't have time for that here. So I like to reach people where they are in a way that's interesting and bring value. And there are so many people like yourselves and others out there who I've met along the way that it's just a joy for me to meet people like you and how can I help? And, what's going on in your brain? Because it's probably better than what's in mine. So let's get together and, figure stuff out. And by the way, one of the things that I learned since I was really young is if I don't know something, I'm like, look, you're amazing. I don't know the answer, but there's a dude or a gal over there and I'm going to send you right there. And that gives me so much joy when I see that happen and it works. So
yeah, that's why I call him Brain Bartlett, because he is an extraordinary brain. And I'm blessed to be with both of you. Tony, please come back. We have other shows. We have a couple of TV shows. I'd love to have you. We have the first entrepreneurial late night show on Bloomberg. Blaine and I called Office Hours. So we'd love to have you back to learn even more, if that sounds fair.
Well, I would love to come back, and you guys are awesome. And thank you so much for having me, guys. Have a great day.
Enjoy your day.
Pleasure, great to meet you. Take care.
Oh my goodness. You meet someone that's your kind of guy. He showed up, Blaine. I was a little concerned because I'm sitting here at 4:59 a.m. in Pacific Coast, and you're the most punctual person I know, and you're not here. And then, with 10 seconds left, he pops on screen. He goes, "Never missed a show. I just don't waste time waiting around." I'm like, "Oh, I love you. This is going to be a great interview." Anyway, Alex Israel's waiting in the wings, co-founder and CEO of Metropolis. Not the Metropolis where Superman lives, but a different Metropolis.io. And we are transforming the entrepreneurial journey by founding Metropolis, and would love to understand the mobility of Metropolis and the value of this great platform, I guess. Alex, welcome to Office Hours. Unmute yourself. You just made the Dave Meltzer mistake. You wait so long. Hey, you wait so long, right? I'm on these speeches sometimes, and they pay way more than, I shouldn't say I'm worth, but they paid way more than I ever anticipated being paid to speak. And you're supposed to be this professional, right? I'm sitting in my closet, not feeling like a professional, waiting 10 minutes. And then I get on and I'm like, and everyone.
You'd think we'd all spend so much time on Zoom that we'd know by now. But
Yeah.
David,
We got to
Blaine,
automate that.
to meet you guys.
Yeah. It should be voice activated the minute you talk.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Just what we always wanted. Voice activated all the time. Well, great to be here.
Oh, yeah.
Good to have you here.
Give us an idea of the autonomous platform for what you've built with Metropolis.
Absolutely. So, Metropolis is concentrated on the future of cities and the future of mobility. We are, at our core, an artificial intelligence shop, and we're building what we're calling an autonomous commerce product. So you can think about a few products in the market today that do something similar, not from a competitive landscape, but from this idea of moving to seamless or checkout-free transactions. So for us, it's repurposing and reinvigorating parking. That's the first vertical we're going after, this kind of old world experience that we're very familiar with, the guys with the wads of cash at the entrances and exits to parking lots. We're deploying a computer vision technology that allows you to pull into a facility. Our technology recognizes your vehicle. You get a text message when you pull in. When you go to leave, the gate automatically vends and you're automatically charged. None of all of the pain points normally associated with parking. We just make it a seamless checkout-free experience. And we're doing that across the country.
Yeah. How do you, I love that concept. It's really brilliant. And here's a question for you around just the way it's an autonomous platform, and in your words, that is disrupting traditional city infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
So how does this notion actually serve as a disruptor to the city infrastructure? What's the intent there?
Yeah, it's a great question, Blaine. So I don't know where you're both located right now, but I'm in Los Angeles, and I'm looking over in my office at kind of a dark cityscape. And if you look at the city right now, 14% of that surface area of Los Angeles is parking. If you look at a city like Sao Paulo, 35% of the surface area of that city is parking. And it's kind of this underutilized, underdeveloped, never the highest and best use of land. So the question is, how is that land going to evolve over the next 30 years? And for us, it's going to serve the city. It's going to be repurposed to serve mobility. Think about cleaning, servicing, charging, deploying of all future forms of mobility, whether it be vertical takeoff and landing drones, whether it be autonomous vehicles. The question will be, how can we repurpose all of that physical infrastructure?
Interesting.
It's amazing because in understanding the AI and the data that you can collect and the efficiency that's created, we now can create solutions that are aligned more in the vision for the future than traditional individual people in individual cars paying a fortune to park in a very slow with lines that affect, in a city, how much traffic is affected from parking.
Oh, yeah. People say north of 30% of on-street congestion is caused by people circling around looking for parking, whether it be on or off street. Parking's a massive pain point, and it hasn't evolved in 70 years. I mean, if you think about how our parents parked, it's exactly how we park today. And we're just bringing all of that experience into the modern era and bringing it right into the palm of your hand.
And you can imagine when we understand who's parking there, how we could collaborate. I always like to bring that up with my friend Blaine. When we find that two people are driving from the same place into the same parking spot 5 days a week, right? We now can create a community and share data to create other efficiencies to save time, money, value, and network.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing how through technology, a parking structure become a community and a networking tool, as well as a profit center. And you and I both know I invested in a parking fund. So I know, at one time, the mom and pop parking lots, literally just by automating them with a credit card machine and not having an employee there, increased revenue 70% because there was no stealing, right? There was nobody getting to park for free, all the different things that occurred. What are some of the other things that you think are going to evolve from, this initial distribution of just parking? Obviously, you have a much bigger picture in the autonomous city.
Yeah, I think, David, for me, if you think about the word mobility, it's a kind of a hot phrase that whether it be pundits or tech entrepreneurs talk about all the time. If you actually look up the definition of mobility, mobility is defined as the free and easy movement of people, goods, and services. There is no free and easy movement of people, goods, and services throughout a city. So this idea of, and you brought up the perfect point, the massive congestion that limits and creates transportation deserts, limits economic growth. Parking is really at the core of that. And as we think about the future city, it's how do you convert this infrastructure into what I would qualify as a mobility hub? This idea of a centralized location that's repurposed and repatriated by the community. Should it be a park? Should it be a community center? How can we find higher and better use than just a dirty, old surface parking lot?
Yeah, I mean, when you mentioned LA, the 405, when I was living in Marina Del Rey, well, David, and you know this too. I mean, I would come down to see him, or he'd come up and see me, and we'd be on the 405, and it's kind of like, okay, let's just plan out about 4 hours.
Yeah, and then Kobe screwed up the helicopter idea for me.
Oh,
so,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. What does this do to the congestion on the 405? And just to, to be very localized, but this is a much broader question because I've got I-5 up here in Seattle, which has the same sort of an issue.
Well, I think that's where you start to think about what the impact is of autonomous vehicles. And where we fit into the autonomous vehicle ecosystem is they need physical infrastructure. Autonomous vehicles are not going to just circle around the block endlessly for their next job or their next ride. They have to get off the street, they have to get serviced, and then they have to be deployed to their next ride or their next job. So if you look at the 405, which I am on a regular basis, which is a parking lot unto itself. You think that the future of autonomous vehicles, and you talk about how this physical infrastructure actually leads to one of two scenarios. The common kind of narrative is this proverbial heaven or hell scenario associated with autonomous vehicles. So you have two realities. One is the cost of transportation drops so much as a result of the long-term value of the car, the cost to manufacture the car, and electric vehicle charging. So if you think about the idea that I could get from Santa Monica to downtown LA for 5 cents, if that's possible and you're in an autonomous vehicle and you can be driving at 120 miles an hour and you can be in a designated lane, it's a wonderful concept. It's a wonderful idea. And we will reach that reality. The question becomes, as we're bridging the gap between that future and now, does that same efficiency drive the cost of transportation so low where everyone gets in cars and the entire landscape slams to a standstill? And I think it's going to be a blend of the two. In the short run, I think we're going to see a lot more congestion. A lot of people started buying cars as a result of COVID. So as we see congestion, I think we'll see this kind of classic kind of natural curve where we're going to see congestion rise, and then you're going to see a steep drop off as the proliferation of autonomous vehicles really takes off.
Interesting.
In the utilization of autonomous vehicles, one of the aspects that I think needs to be brought up is air. I'm still old enough to remember the Jetsons. And I still believe that someday, that cartoon is going to be representative of how we utilize metropolises and how we get along in a very safe mechanism, not a helicopter, but something that, no matter how great of a basketball player you are, you can't convince a pilot to change directions or, with AI finding the safest and most efficient routes. But when you add depth to transportation and parking, we have plenty of space for everyone.
You have to go vertical. You have to go vertical, David. I completely agree. The kind of mass proliferation, you see so many startups, the vertical takeoff and landing space. And the one thing I love is every mock-up of what they call a vertiport. This idea of an airport for these vehicles is the top of a parking lot. And just the idea that you can repurpose this land, and that's back to the same question. The cost of these vehicles is going to get so low. There's this constant misnomer that this technology is going to be great, but it's only going to be for the wealthy. It's only going to be for the uber successful. And the truth of the matter is the cost of this transportation is going to drop so low as a result of these vehicles being electric vehicles that it's going to be accessible to the average American. And you're going to be able to get into a vertical takeoff and landing vehicle in Santa Monica, and you're going to be at a Lakers game in 4 minutes. And that type of infrastructure just changes the city.
From your mouth to God's ears.
Think about why one of the reasons people don't love living in a lot of cities is because of that congestion, because of that gridlock. And this technology will seamlessly allow you to get from here to there at a low cost. Think about the equity it builds. Think about how many people are stuck, not able to get, high paid jobs or the jobs they want because they can't get to them. And now you can seamlessly get from here to there.
The entire real estate spectrum changes. Where we live, the communities and the values of communities on that far outskirts now of cities to be able, maybe it doesn't take you 4 minutes to get to the Laker game, but 10 minutes, but you live halfway, between Vegas and LA, and it takes you 10 minutes and all that land now, and we're redistributing everything. It's incredible. What you're doing is incredible. We absolutely want to have you back to discuss even more about the future and how, the next time I have you on, I want to talk about how do we not only prepare for today, which you're doing, but how do you prepare with Metropolis, knowing the verticalization of transportation and the efficiencies that it causes, and what other businesses have you been thinking about that, you are a futurist. I can see your mind spinning. I wish I had more time.
I do too.
But I'd love to see how we can monetize the future together. So thank you so much for joining us, Alex. Incredible entrepreneur.
Great.
Come back and visit us again.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Blaine. Wonderful being here.
You're amazing. Thanks for waking up early.
Of course.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Go soon.
Yeah. Hey, Blaine, it's amazing, right? You do a show at 5 a.m. Pacific time, and everybody in the Pacific Northwest.
On the Pacific.
Everybody wants to come to this show. We do it at 3 p.m. All the East guys want to come. I don't understand it. So it's awesome.
The idea of that disruption is just fascinating to me. And I know we've got Loren coming in here. But I just, real quick note on this. When Henry Ford was building the assembly line for the Model T, Model A actually, but that whole thing, the idea of a weekend didn't exist, and he actually made the car affordable in one sense. So, but he made weekends, and work week was structured in a way that the workers would have free time, so that they would want to buy a car to go somewhere, to take that time. That's the advent of the weekend. There's a disruption that occurs when tech begins to actually look at the way that we live. So I do want to have him back on. I think there's a fascinating conversation there.
Oh, absolutely. We have Loren's working to get herself on there. So let's do the takeaways real quick, because I have a training on patience, the reconciliation of patience and persistence. Right after that, I'm filming a 2-minute drill, the last 3 episodes today. Excited, by the way, to let everyone know, Office Hours will be filming Office Hours the Friday after the Super Bowl, 4 Fridays in a row. So we'll pick a Friday, Blaine, and doing this, the Mindset Mastermind version, the Soul of Business version, as we call it. So we're very excited to use the Win Studio that we have there, that I use for my podcast. We'll be filming there in the lobby of the Win. So we'll get a lot of fun. Anyway, let's do the takeaway of the day. See if we can get Loren on. If not, we'll jump afterwards. What's your takeaway for the day?
Well, I mean, it was interesting when I came in, with Tony. He was talking about, it was interesting. Just showing up right on time. It's kind of like, okay, well, I'm here now. But the idea of energy, energy just flows. It does, and it really doesn't have an allegiance. And I really love that, because people get so wrapped up, I think, in the idea of setting goals and objectives and directions, and I mean, there's all kinds of stuff, and not to have that be a pejorative. It's useful and it's important to do, but the idea of managing energetic states, the idea of just paying attention to where the energy is flowing, and this is one of the things that not only Tony, I think, talked about, But it was really interesting in terms of what Alex was talking about too. The way that the energy is flowing from a physical manifestation of parking and all of that other stuff. When we're paying attention to how energy is flowing, by definition, we begin to become in the flow itself. And if we're looking at this from just the idea of how do I get in the flow, pay attention to where energy is moving, how energy is moving, what's causing energy to move, what's constraining it. I think the state of flow is nature's way of saying you're connected to spirit. I mean, that's essentially what goes on with that.
I think it's the nature's way of acknowledging that, allowing you to acquire the knowledge that you're in spirit, that you're always in the flow. It's what you're doing to interfere with it, which is why I teach people, right? I am healthy, happy, wealthy, and worthy. What am I doing to interfere? What I resist will persist. There's no need to go over it, under it, through it, around it, oversell it, back end sell it, lie to it, manipulate or cheat it. If I simply make an allegiance with it, understand it, appreciate it, add value to it, acknowledge it, acquire the knowledge by giving it away. And then, as we talk with Tony, which is my takeaway, ask for more. See, what happens is we're in spirit. We're in spirit. When we appreciate it, it adds value. It expands my vessel. The only way to know what I have now, this new appreciation, is to give it all away, to acknowledge it. Only way we acquire knowledge is to let it go in the flow. Then the most critical component, which most people forget, because if you don't ask for more at that stage, you just dissipate, dissolve. And what happens, and I use my mom as this example because she's so kind. You've met my mom. You know how I feel about my mom. You see me cry 20 million times about my mom. But what frustrates me about my mom is she always appreciated what we had. And she always gave everything away. She gave her health away for her children, her money, right? And never asked for more. So in the end, now that she's close to 80, right, she's given away her health. She's given away all her money. So she has the exact opposite what she wanted in her life, right? Because now her children gladly have to help her with her health, have to help her with her finances, all because she was not humble enough to ask. Not humble enough to ask. And I don't pick on my mom. I mean this as a blessing and as respect, because I know that it's almost counter of a woman's nature not to give everything away, but no one's teaching, especially women who are caretakers, who are nurturers, no one's teaching them that in order to feed, you got to be fed. And, and this is, one of the areas that I hone in all my teaching, from the greatest and biggest CEOs and chairmen in the world to the beginning entrepreneurs, to the moms of the world. You got to not only appreciate what you have, acknowledge it and give it all away. I agree. The more you give, the more you get, but you got to ask for more, or else you're going to end up with nothing. Anyway, we're blessed to have Loren on here. One of my favorite topics. He's the president of General RV, family-owned, nation's largest dealer of RVs. One of my greatest experiences are always in the RV that Julie and I'm sure you've heard the stories. They made the movie RV with my friend Warren Moon in there with Robin Williams. We have our own vacation stories. No dogs dragging behind our RV, but just I don't know why. But oh my goodness, I am a huge fan of the recreational vehicles. I think if people haven't experienced it, they should go rent one. And then when they find out how great it is, they should buy or lease or do whatever. And, Loren, what makes your business so emotionally attaching? It's like football, man. People just either love it or they're not interested.
Absolutely. Well, first, thanks for having me on, David. I appreciate it. Always good to talk about RVs and what we do on a daily basis. We're blessed to be in an industry that does create a lot of emotion and attachment. Just like you said, we talk about it creating lifelong memories, whether it's just for a couple or for a family. It just allows people to reconnect with who they are and slow their life down a little bit, and be able to go travel to wherever they want to go. It open spaces, and this country has so many great things to offer and so many great places to go without any barriers. An RV allows people to do that and do that in style too.
Yeah. So, yeah, you were founded. Well, you've been around, for basically ever.
Hey, Blaine, be careful. I think you've been around longer than they have, so don't say forever.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. But I mean, you founded in Detroit, Michigan, Motor City, but that's not where you're headquartered now. You're out in Harrisburg. What have you noticed? And Tony and I were talking earlier. He's from Puyallup, Washington. That's where he's originally from. But there's a large RV manufacturer out here in Puyallup as well. They're on the West Coast, a large dealer. Just what for you? I mean, I'm looking bi-coastal here. Motor City. I mean, transportation, all that kind of stuff. So RVs aren't just about transportation. There's an entire lifestyle that kind of comes along with this. And to the point you were making, David, people either love it or they, it's kind of like football. It's a lifestyle. You get into it. How do you define that lifestyle? And how do you actually invite people to participate in that don't know much about it initially?
It's a great question. We're actually still here in Motor City, so we're still headquartered outside of Detroit. Yeah, our Harrisburg is actually our 14th store that we just opened, so it's a new retail location for us. So, but yeah, for people that haven't done it and haven't had the experience to be able to do it, it can be a little bit intimidating. It is a house on wheels, but the great thing is within the RV industry, we've got everything from the $1 million bus, celebrity coaches that you see out there, all the way down to, $10,000, travel trailers that you can pull with a minivan. And so, for people and it comes in all shapes and sizes. So to be able to get out and just try it and use it and enjoy it, the hurdles aren't as big as some people might think they are. And with COVID over the last year and a half, it has really opened the doors to people that want to get away from all the clutter and the cities and, big hotels and really take a lifestyle back and take control of that. And we've seen a really big influx of a lot of those people into the industry to give it a try.
Mm-hmm. And, the technology, as I've been an RV person for a long time and started just with a used tailgating vehicle, then all the way up to a nice long, dual shedding air conditioning, satellite TV, which, by the way, on my National Lampoon vacation, I went under an overpass that was too low and took off my satellite back then. That was just one of the multiple things that Julie and I experienced with our kids and their friends. But moreover, we're looking again, my wife and I, of purchasing a new one. One that will travel as the kids are going to college, and we'll go mobile for at least a third of the year. We have so many beautiful friends, family, and it just makes sense. But I started to look at it, and man, has the technology changed. I thought it was cool that I had roaming satellite on my last one, but holy moly, like people are actually remodeling, Blaine. They'll buy them, and they look like they have islands. They have big screen TVs. Yep. They even have extensions in the back. You can make it, which is, one of the features that I love, because I love to drive a smaller vehicle but have a larger one.
Yeah, with slide outs, with, like you said, center island kitchens. Countertops are nicer than the ones that are in my house. Big screen TVs. Now on the outside, they've got big screen TVs outside underneath the awning with cooktops and grills, and they've really found a way to.
You have the 2-story one I saw. You can it has a second story.
Yeah, they've got ones where you can get up and on the roof. Some of those are for NASCAR people or tailgating. I mean, they come in all shapes and sizes. It's unbelievable the technology they put in these now.
And which one was most surprising? I mean, you guys have been in business for 60 years. And so you've seen the evolution, of that Vanagon all the way to the things that exist today. What's one of the technologies that to you is still remarkable being in the industry?
It's really the biggest thing that changed was late 90s, early 2000s was the invention of that slide out, where that whole side of the coach slides out. It gives you so much more floor space, openness. I mean, you can have 6-8 people in one of these RVs and you're not climbing all over each other. You feel very, very comfortable. Allows you to have 2 different couches, recliners. There's a lot of them now have the theater seating with the massage chairs and the cooling drink spot and, plugins for your phones, so it just allowed them to be able to expand all these different great ideas.
And I know we're tight on time because we had a little technical. We're gonna have you back too. But Blaine, do you know you can also get a mortgage? You can actually get a mortgage for an RV, which I want people to know, because there, especially with the pandemic, people are looking at different opportunities and options. We were talking about mobility earlier, alternate second homes. You can get a mortgage, and we're actually bought a piece of land in St. Louis. We live in California. We bought an acre on water. We park our new motorhome there, took a mortgage on it, and the cost of the mortgage and the land are less than it costs to park it in California.
Wow.
Right.
That's incredible. Yeah. That's incredible. Yeah, you can do mortgages on these anywhere from 10 to 20 years. Our entry level ones are about $100 a month.
Yeah.
So it can be very affordable. Absolutely.
That's crazy. Are you, and I know we're short on time here, but just real quick, final question. Yeah, electric. Are you moving into the EV space?
You're starting to see more of it. So what we're seeing right now is more of, we're going to have electric capacity within the vehicle. So now you can go what they call dry camping. So you can go places where you don't have to plug in and everything works. Your air conditioner works. And with solar packages, they're able to recharge. So you can go a couple days with using your whole facility without running a generator and outrunning all that. So we're seeing that part come into it. The driving electric part is coming, I think, within the next couple of years as the manufacturers build the chassis that are able to handle it.
Handle the battery.
And there's no fumes and it's quiet. I think that's a major advancement, just having the power walls and the solar that they have now, the home batteries, and they're only getting better. I've been working with Power Home Solar, as you know, Blaine, and the technology that's coming, and as billions of dollars, including Ford, their VC fund, billions of dollars are being put into the transportation space with larger vehicles in EV. So it's just a matter of time, I think, not only internally, but the actual vehicles completely being solar and the battery capacity and power to get one of those vehicles where it needs to go. So amazing, Loren. I'm going to be giving you a call when it's time to go to get that. I'm sure you have a dealership around St. Louis somewhere, so I'll make sure I call you.
Yeah, we'll take good care of you. Appreciate you having us on, and we'll be ready for your upgrade when you're ready.
Yeah, we have other shows too. I want to get more into some of the lifestyle things that we're talking. Thank you for your patience with the technology. We'll have you back. I just have a training in a few minutes, so
no worries. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate
it.
Nice talking to you guys.
Awesome.
You betcha.
All righty, we got all right, last but not least, Dom's here real quick. He has a question for us.
There we go.
Dominic Volek, he is the group head of the private clients for Henley and Partners. Dominic, you have a question for Blaine and I?
Yeah, so good to see you guys. Quick question. Obviously, what we do is assist high net worth individuals all over the world with gaining residence and citizenship by investment. And I was sitting with one of them recently and asked him what his sort of purpose is and what drives him, and he identified three things. He's a Forbes Midas list tech investor, and he said it's all about impact, happiness, and freedom. And so the question I had for you is what is your interpretation of that, and particularly on the freedom piece?
Blaine, you want to go first? You want me to?
Well, the freedom piece. I mean, impact. What was the other one? Impact,
happiness, and freedom.
Impact, happiness, and freedom. Boy, that's an interesting mix. Multiple residences. I'll just kind of start with that. Multiple residences around the world, or geographically, gives me a lot of flexibility. And we had a guest on not too long ago that we talked about this as well, David. But I think the idea of freedom. Yeah. I don't want to be constrained, and COVID certainly, I think, is led into that. Yeah, one of the reasons I'm up here on Whidbey Island is my wife and I decided we wanted to get out of LA when the pandemic started, and a lot of that had to do with freedom, just being able to actually move around. And from an impact perspective, tech has really shrunk the world to such a degree that I don't physically have to be in a lot of places any longer to have the impact that I've always had. and I want to continue having. So, and I'm bookending that because that middle piece, happiness, I think comes as a consequence of being well used. And being well used, I've got a finite amount of life, to expend, and how I'm using it makes a difference. So I just kind of, how do I make impact? How do I have impact? Do I have the freedom to actually navigate my world in a way that works for me and my family? And as a consequence of that, I kind of derive happiness out of it.
Yeah, and for me, Dominic, I reverse it the other way. I think you have to acknowledge your own happiness. You have to enjoy the consistent, persistent pursuit of your own potential, not what other people want, not what other people think, not what's missing or what you don't want. So I think if you focus in on happiness, you then will have a frequency that resonates with more people, that creates a greater impact by providing value to others and creating more happiness to elevate others, to celebrate others, to empower others. And if you are happy, you'll impact more people, and they themselves will be empowered to be happy, which will impact even more, which leads to freedom, because freedom is the freedom to me is not only to have as many wishes a day that you want, but to be able to choose which wish you would like to pursue. And so for me, the freedom of being able to wish and then to pursue that wish and prioritize it according to your own values is true freedom. And so happiness derives impact, which allows for freedom. And may everyone wish for more wishes and follow their own dreams and enjoy the consistent, persistent pursuit of their potential. Dominic, thank you for allowing us the brevity of a question and the depth of an answer. Please come back and join us. You can find him at henleyglobal.com, private clients for the Henley and Partners group there. Thank you so much, Dominic. We will see you soon.
Take care.
You. All right, Blaine, I got to jump to training. I love you.
You got to go to training.
We miss you, and tell your beautiful bride, as always, that I love her. learn.blainebartlett.com/LMM. It's not brain, it's Blaine, although he has an extraordinary brain, and I appreciate it all the time for being such a great mentor to not only me, but to so many with his mindset mastermind and other things that he does to change our world, because he is a happy man, an impactful man, and a free man. So thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, buddy.
Thanks for waking up early. Everybody, it's amazing from coast to coast. Who rocks the most? The West Coast. We're here early. Where are you, East Coast people? Come on, let's make it happen. Anyway, remember, most importantly, I got training in 7 minutes, Patience versus Persistence, the Reconciliation, the new book that I'm writing on reconcile currencies and flow, reconciling the things that are counterintuitive, that seem to not work or collaborate together, but actually are synergistic, supplementary, and aligned, like patience and persistence. They're best friends, believe it or not. I look forward to teaching. I look forward to listening and learning. As an intelligent follower, Blaine Bartlett and I have enjoyed the show. Most importantly, be kind to your future self and do good deeds. We'll see you next week.